Hello, welcome back. If this is your first time being here, welcome. My name is Ellie. I am a personal trainer. I'm an online fitness coach. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about why I started my fitness journey. In my last video, I talked about when I started my fitness journey. So I'll go ahead and just kind of get started. Basically, I grew up in New Mexico. I was born in Placentia, California, but I moved here when I was 6. When I was little, I moved to New Mexico with my family and pretty much lived in this small little mountain town. Went to the same high school, kindergarten through 12th grade. I was involved in sports basically since I was a little kid. I started playing soccer when I was maybe like 6 or 7, and then started playing basketball, and then started playing middle school volleyball, and then basically started playing sports in about middle school. So I was very active my entire childhood and then my teen years too. I have a lot of family. I have a ton of cousins, so we would always play outside. We would play like a bunch of games outside and run around and just like, we were super active. So I grew up being active. I was in sports. I basically was always, doing something, being active, going on trips for sports, all this stuff. Basically started, I was a triathlete starting in middle school. I ran track. I also was in band, was in marching band and like symphonic band in the fall. It was pretty cool. So I was pretty involved in like a bunch of activities. So somewhere in that mix, probably middle school, is when I started being a triathlete. We would go on trips and stuff. I would always just have like a bunch of snacks. And I didn't really have a good relationship with food, and I didn't realize that at the time. But I did realize later on that I would just kind of like grab and go, just because I was so active. I was just so used to just like grabbing something just to like fuel me, right? I didn't really think about like the quality of the food. I just kind of thought of just having something. And so that really stuck with me through high school. In high school, especially once I started driving, I would go and get fast food with my best friend for lunch all the time. It was like a regular thing for at least a year, I would say. I just, especially in high school, didn't have a good relationship with food. I was a triathlete at that point. I ran track, I played basketball, and I played volleyball, and I was in band, so I was super active, and I still didn't have a good relationship with food. I would go and get fast food all the time. I would drink sodas. I would drink a lot of water too, though. Yeah, so I went to the doctor, and he basically told me that I was borderline overweight, and I was like super offended and so sad because I was a triathlete, and how could I possibly be borderline overweight? This did not make any sense to me. So of course I like just went to food to alleviate my hurt feelings, and so ate like a whole bunch, gained a little bit more weight. One of my peers like pointed out that I had gained weight, and I was like so sad because then I realized that I wasn't being healthy, and I didn't have a good relationship with food, and I just like didn't know what to do. And so so that summer I started running in the summer, and I lost 10 pounds, went back to school. By the time school was over in the spring, I had gained 10 pounds. I had gained the 10 pounds back basically. And so the next summer I ran again, and I just like, I never figured, like especially at that point, never figured out that I had such a bad relationship with food. But it really started affecting my mood, and it really started affecting like how I socialize, and it started affecting like what my habits were. It was just, yeah, it was insane. So that's when I realized that food has such a big part, such a huge role to play in your life, not just the physical aspect with losing or gaining. I basically, by the time I was a junior, uh, maybe that it kind of started going downhill that December. I don't really know exactly when it was, but it was definitely kind of going downhill. I was just like in a really bad place. I was super depressed and I didn't know how to express myself. I wasn't talking to my best friend at the time for like no reason. I don't know why. I was like partying way more and I was just like drinking a lot more. I would still get home at night, but I would obviously, like, I would catch a ride from a friend, but I would still get home that night and I would just go overboard and, like, yeah, I was just not in a good spot. I didn't eat well even more. I didn't love myself. It was just, that's just how I coped, and that was like my escapism. Like, that's how I escaped my feelings and my situation, and not being able to not like talk to anybody, or at least feeling like I couldn't. So I was in a really bad place. I didn't know if I was gonna like make it after that year. I wasn't sure if there was like any more time for me. But I finally reached out to somebody and I like just slowly started changing my lifestyle. By the way, if you struggle with anything like that, I highly recommend seeing a therapist right away. It's so good to talk to somebody about that. I didn't, and I stay positive a lot, but when my highs are really high, and when I'm low is whenever it gets like super rough. But it's always getting better and better, and I am like super blessed to be here and super blessed to be alive. And I definitely, at that point when I was at my very lowest, I would go on nature walks with my dogs. I would go walking at least 2 miles, or go running at least 2 miles, or get out in nature for at least like half an hour, because it was just like so alleviating. Like nature is therapy. Like, it's amazing how you can just like have this mental clarity, being in the woods and like walking through the woods. It just like feels really good to kind of kind of be like a little bit more open-minded about your situation, and kind of try to figure out what you can do to make it better. So that's what I did, and then I started eating a lot better, and I noticed that I had way more energy. Like, I didn't realize how much energy I hadn't had from eating all that like junk food all the time. I would probably eat fast food at least once a day. I just didn't have a healthy relationship with food, and that was definitely why I started working out in this first place, is because I realized that it was going to help me out mentally. I especially did it because of the mental aspects, but I knew physically, it wasn't about just losing weight. It was about being healthier and allowing my body to work more efficiently, to be able to live better and have more energy throughout the day. I didn't want to like crash and be tired. I wanted to strategize and like figure out why I was feeling a certain way and how I could be better. And it's a long process, but the time's gonna pass anyways, and I rather work on myself and work on positivity and helping others through the same thing that I went through, and maybe talk about that a little bit more in depth in the future. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you'll follow my journey. Make sure to subscribe. My Instagram handle is Eliana Lift, and so is my TikTok. You can find me on there, and also on Twitter. So I'll see you guys soon. Have a good day.